I never thought a routine checkup would change my life. My name is Richard, and I'm 62 years old. For the past 3 years, I've been going to the same clinic for my heart monitoring. Nothing serious, really just something my doctor wanted to keep an eye on. The nurses there knew me by name, and I'd grown comfortable with the routine. But that Tuesday morning in March felt different somehow. When I arrived, the usual receptionist wasn't at her desk. Instead, a younger woman greeted me with a warm smile. She had golden hair that caught the morning light streaming through the windows. Her name tag read Emma, and she couldn't have been more than 35. She told me my regular nurse had called in sick, and she would be handling my appointment. I nodded and followed her down the familiar hallway. The examination room was the same one I'd been in dozens of times before. Emma asked me to have a seat and began reviewing my charts. Her voice was gentle and professional as she asked about my symptoms. I told her everything had been fine, no chest pains, no irregular heartbeats. She smiled and said that was wonderful news. Then she walked over to the door. I heard the lock click. My heart skipped a beat, and not because of any medical condition. Emma turned to face me, and her expression had completely changed. Gone was a professional demeanor. In its place was something raw and desperate. She said, "Now it's just you and me in this room." I felt panic rising in my chest. But then her eyes filled with tears. "Richard," she said, "I'm so sorry for scaring you. But I need your help, and I didn't know who else to turn to." I took a slow breath, trying to calm myself. "What's wrong?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She pulled up a chair and sat across from me. Her hands were trembling as she spoke. She told me her younger brother was sick, very sick. He needed a specialized treatment that their insurance wouldn't cover. She'd been working double shifts trying to save money, but it wasn't enough. The doctors gave him 6 months, maybe less without the procedure. I listened as she poured out her story. She said she'd seen my file and knew I'd worked in medical research before I retired. She'd read about a clinical trial I'd been involved with years ago, one that dealt with the exact condition her brother had. Emma asked if I knew anyone who could help get him into a trial, or if I had any contacts who might offer guidance. I sat there looking at this young woman who'd locked the door not to harm me, but because she was drowning and reaching for anything that might save someone she loved. The desperation in her eyes reminded me of myself 30 years ago, when my own daughter had been sick and I'd felt that same helpless terror. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "Emma," I said, "let me make some calls." Her face transformed, relief washing over her features like sunrise. Over the next hour, I contacted 3 colleagues from my research days. Emma unlocked the door and brought us both coffee while we waited for callbacks. By noon, I'd gotten her brother an appointment with a specialist I knew, someone who was running a trial that might be perfect for his case. Emma cried when I told her. She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Thank you," she whispered, "thank you so much." I smiled and told her that years ago someone had helped me when my daughter was sick, a stranger who went out of their way because they understood what it meant to love someone that much. I said I was just passing that kindness forward. Before I left, Emma insisted on completing my actual checkup. Everything was fine, just like always. As I walked out into the spring sunshine, I felt lighter than I had in months. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in our routines that we forget why we're really here. We're not just passing time until the clock runs out. We're here to help each other through the hard parts, to be the answer to someone's desperate prayer. 3 months later, I got a letter from Emma. Her brother had been accepted into the trial and was responding well. She thanked me again and said she'd never forget what I'd done. But the truth is she gave me something too. She reminded me that even at 62, my life still had purpose, that the experiences I'd gathered over the decades weren't just memories. They were tools I could use to make a real difference. Now, whenever I go for my checkups, Emma is always there. We talk about her brother's progress and share stories about our families. That moment when she locked the door could have gone so differently. But sometimes fear and desperation look the same as danger. And sometimes the bravest thing we can do is trust in the kindness of strangers, because we're all just people trying to take care of the ones we love. And maybe that's the best reason to be alive. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. And leave a comment below telling me about a time when a stranger showed you unexpected kindness. I read every single one.